Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the Eritrean invasion of the Tigray region and coverage of the civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia. And first we're going to start off our coverage on the Eritrean Tigray border. We have additional information about the size and the scope of the Eritrean military's invasion of the Tigray region. So first, we estimate right now that the Eritrean military has in excess of 300,000 personnel and additional personnel that have been conscripted into the Eritrean military because of the ongoing conflict that has been taking place. We estimate of those 300,000 troops that in terms of relatively qualitative troops, higher quality troops that would be relatively effective in battle, that force amounts to about 40 to 50,000 personnel that are relatively well equipped and trained and able to conduct offensive operations inside of the northern Tigray region. Additionally, obviously, those forces are being augmented by those additional 250,000 largely conscripted forces that have been trained and deployed. We estimate right now that inside of the Tigray region, just across the border of northern Tigray, and again, we're covering areas such as near Shire, areas near Adidaro, Rama, and north of Adigrat in the Zalambessa area, this area right here. Additionally, there are Eritrean forces deployed in the occupation of western Tigray as well. And that force, we estimate, again, that are operating relatively inside of the Tigray region or just on the other side, conducting operations, about 80,000 upwards to 140,000 Eritrean forces. And obviously they have reserve components. They have forces that are deployed along the border with Sudan. They have forces deployed near Djibouti as well, and forces deployed near the Afar Eritrean border. But right now, we estimate that there are between 80 and 140,000 Eritrean forces operating in this area right here where my cursor is kind of hovering. Now again, of those 80 to 140,000, we believe about 40,000 of them are fairly competent forces. And those forces, that 80 to 140,000 Eritrean troops, are then being augmented by forces from the former state of Ethiopia, the Abiy Ahmed regime, the Abiy loyalist forces. We estimate that elements of up to 3 commando divisions have been sent to Eritrea for 2 purposes. One is to support the Eritrean military in its campaign into northern Tigray. 2 is to learn and become better at the operational art. We have seen that the Abiy loyalist forces that have been operating in the northern Amhara region, and we have seen battles take place, even recently, the operations by the Tigrayan Defense Forces that seized control of Kobo, cleared out the Zobel mountain range down here, and then eventually, for all intents and purposes, surrounded Weldia. Those Abiy loyalist forces were decimated, and what we're seeing right now is just utter incompetence inside of the Abiy loyalist forces. If it were not for the support by the United Arab Emirates and Turkey in supplying, and China, and to a limited extent Iran, supporting the Abiy loyalist forces with some fairly advanced drones, things would be even worse for the Abiy loyalist forces. But that is another reason why we are seeing these Abiy loyalist forces being sent into Eritrea, is to gain operational experience from the more competent Eritrean battlefield commanders. Now, on to the fighting. And we're going to start today. We're going to start near Rama, and we would call this the north central front of the ongoing fighting that is taking place. And we're seeing some really incredible fighting, very intense battles taking place. It looks like that the Eritrean military has started using and has been using quite a bit of artillery to try and degrade and destroy the Tigrayan defense forces that are based and operating in defense of Rama. Now, with that being said, the Eritrean military has tried on several different occasions to cross the Mareb River here and move into the Tigray region and look to take control of Rama. It is having tremendous difficulty in moving north to south towards Rama. We should probably call this Tigrayan Corps that is operating near Rama the Rocky Balboa Corps, because it refuses to go down, and it refuses to give an inch to the Eritrean military in the Rama sector. The Eritrean army has not taken control of Rama. It has shelled it relentlessly. Many of the buildings, much of the infrastructure inside of Rama has been destroyed. Most of the civilians have been evacuated, and it is now a defensive redoubt being used by the Tigrayan defense forces in the ongoing defense of the northern Tigray region. So unlike in the prior campaign, in the prior occupation of Tigray, in which Rama actually fell to the Eritrean military, we did not see the Tigrayan defense forces use some of the towns and cities as defensive redoubts against the Eritrean military. This time, we are seeing that. And quite frankly, the Eritrean military right now is even having trouble just moving south past some of these even smaller hamlets or villages just north of Rama. The Tigrayan defense forces are operating, again, as I talked about prior, to the east and west in some of this hilly terrain, and continues to set upon Eritrean forces as they try to advance into the Tigray region. Additionally, there are a multitude of defensive belts by the Tigrayan defense forces being set up in this area, and it's making it very, very difficult for the Eritrean military to advance into northern Tigray, especially along the Rama sector. It is believed that in the early start of this new campaign by the Eritrean military, they believe that they were going to be able to take Rama within a matter of days, and Rama has still not fallen and still continues to provide tenacious resistance against the Eritrean host. But that's where we are in the Rama sector. In the east, near Zalambessa, again, same issue. We're not really seeing, and it's even more rugged and mountainous in the Zalambessa sector on the on the southbound highway, the main arterial route of advance along the B-20 highway. Again, we've just not seen the Eritrean military be able to move south along the B-20 highway. And again, if you look at the terrain that you're seeing here, this is the type of terrain that the Tigrayan defense forces excel in defending, and that's what we're seeing. They're just not able to move south. The only area where we have seen any inroads is in the more flatter terrain near Shire and north of Shire. We do believe at this point Adidaro is still somewhat contested. There has been reports that the Eritrean military has moved into Adidaro, but the Tigrayan defense forces are still operating to the east and west, threatening the rear supply lines of the Eritrean army if it moves south along this main arterial route of advance towards Shire. We believe that some elements of the Eritrean army have made it to about 5 miles outside of Shire. But a all-out assault on Shire has not yet occurred, and it's very, very difficult for those Eritrean forces to move north to south. Again, near Shire, we do believe that Shire has fallen to Eritrean forces, and Eritrean forces continue to try to move from west to east in an effort to threaten Shire and other towns, or link up with Eritrean forces in its advance on Shire, far down here to the south. But its main route of advance, ultimately, in order for the Eritrean military to be successful, is, so I hope you understand, the Eritrean military is taking this area and is attempting to move east to then link up with Eritrean forces operating in this area, and then, as a force, then move south, and they're attempting at some point to seize control of Shire, which they believe would be the gateway further east along the B-30. But at that point, it's even going to get more challenging because of the terrain for Eritrean forces. But it would be a political victory for the Eritrean military, Abiy loyalist forces, to seize control of Shire. Because the Tigrayan Defense Forces right now are pretty heavily invested into defending Shire and other areas around Shire. Additionally, we are continuing to see a buildup of Tigrayan Defense Forces running from May Samre down to Adi Arke. We anticipate, or we've heard reports, that the Tigrayan Defense Forces, given the situation in the north, and given its ability to hold off the massive Eritrean army in the north, may be looking to conduct some sort of offensive operation into the southwestern area of the Tigray region that has been occupied by both Amhara regional forces, Abiy loyalist forces, and the Eritrean army. This area, if retaken, would obviously then give the Tigray region access to the Tigray-Sudanese border, and then also give, obviously, the Tigray region some limited access to foreign assistance. But that is where we sit today as we watch what is happening within this massive war that is taking place. And quite frankly, given the amount of, as I've talked about before, the amount of personnel, in excess of 1 million soldiers are now involved in this war, that it rivals, at least in the scope of manpower, what we are seeing in Ukraine versus Russia. But that's where we set for today. We'll continue to coverage and have more very, very soon. Thanks for joining us. And as always, have a good day.